Welcome back to Regular Guys Outdoors. I'm Chris. This video is part 2 of 2 of our wrap-up of the elk archery season here in Colorado for 2022. So we've been in and around elk the last day and a half we've been hunting, and even though we've been in and around the elk, we're both not quite feeling 100% because we've done a lot of tough hiking up to this point. All right, it's morning of day
3. Today's day 3.
Is it Monday?
I guess so. Yeah, it is Monday.
Holy smokes. Morning of day 3, so that makes it Monday. We're kind of a little late getting going, but you know, Brian's over there by the fire soaking it up as long as he can. And I'm not exactly being Speedy Gonzalez in the morning myself. But
Chris is dressed and ready before I get out of my sleeping bag in the morning. Making me look bad.
But we got some beautiful views out there. We got to go through some nasty junk to get to where we're going. We had an absolutely terrible hike last night. Terrible hike. It took us 2 hours to go about 1.25 miles and a pit stop for some water. It was terrible.
We didn't film any of it, and you guys didn't want to see any of that. That was awful.
We were crabby and grouchy, falling through the deadfall. It was terrible. Terrible.
I've never seen Chris upset. And he was like, gosh darn it. Dang plants.
A little sick of those, little sick of the route we had to take, that's for sure. We're going to take a different route back to camp today.
I don't think it's going to be any better.
We did, however, find this wallow right close to camp. I'm going to hit this like Picasso on a canvas. So we're sitting here trying to figure out what to do. So the deal is,
if this elk responds to my bugle, we will go down there. If he doesn't, we're going to go sit in the tent and eat snacks. I mean, it's a good day. It's a good day for a break after 6,000 feet of climbing yesterday.
they're a long way off and one of them's on private. So we kind of hunted our way back to camp and then had a nice breakfast with our freeze-dried meals, heated up and all that. And then we tried to actually take a little nap, but the ants kept getting in our clothes and whatnot, so we couldn't really do that. And because we didn't go past that creek we went past yesterday morning, we really need a water resupply, so we're going to go down to that wallow. So we come down here to this little wallow because we didn't ever cross the creek this morning. We need to do a water resupply. Brian on this trip is the filter man, and guess what he left back in his sleeping bag? The filter. Because when it is potentially freezing at night, you have to make sure your filter doesn't freeze, because then the water can expand and crack your ceramic filter. So you gotta sleep with it, and that's probably where it is right now.
There she is.
because the water was so stagnant, we decided to boil it and then filter it. That was a pretty time-consuming process, and so what we decided was Brian is going to sit the remaining 2 or 3 hours of the day at the wallow. I'm going to go up above camp, about 400 feet above camp, feet in elevation, and go up there to the area where we spooked those cows on the first night. So they've had a couple days to relax and get back into their routine, so I go up there. These next two events kind of happened at the same time, starting at about 6 o'clock 1800. Brian hears movement behind him through the ferns, so he turns the camera on. Then he realizes he's got a problem when he can't see the elk. He's got something else walking through the ferns. Those ferns are over waist deep. What he's got is a black bear. And that bear's rubbing on a tree right behind him right there. And like I said in the previous video, Brian's not a big fan of bears. I'm not a big fan of the moose in the wild. He's not a fan of the bear in the wild. So right here, Brian's actually able to chamber around into his pistol real slowly. But then the bear gets real close to him, so he decides it's time to bail out. And that was definitely a good call, because that bear should have winded him by now. And if he did wind him and he still wasn't concerned, probably best just to get out of there.
He was right behind me. Did not like that. Well, a bear came into my setup, circled around behind me, and started coming straight towards me. At that point, that's when I kind of got a little nervous, when he started coming behind me. I don't know what to do. Do I stay in my spot? Or do I don't know. I think I'm going to back out for at least a half hour. There's an hour and a half until sunset. He was a big boy. All alone. No cubs.
So while all that's going on down below me, I'm up top and I hear cows moving. So I'm in a position, the cows are kind of coming from my left, and they sound like they're gonna come right up in front of me. The cows are still below me, but then I hear a noise to my right, and eventually I catch some movement. And I see a legal 4-point bull coming right to left, and when he crosses right here, I'm going to draw and shoot him right here, right at 20 yards. But instead, he decides he's going to make a hard left turn and come straight at me. Now I got a problem because he's right in my face, and this aspen tree, this little guy, is preventing me from being able to pivot and turn toward him. My stabilizer and arrow that's knocked up is preventing me from being able to rotate, not to mention the fact that he's staring right at me at 13 yards. Well, right here he's at about 15, 16 yards. When he moves forward, he's at 13. Now he hears the cows below, and he's somewhat interested. And then in the far distance, 2 bulls are bugling, and he notices them too. I keep waiting for him to crack off a bugle, but he stays silent. Now if he goes to his left, my right, he's going to go behind that pine tree, and I should be able to draw and pivot at that point. I'd prefer for him to keep going that direction. I don't know why he stopped and turned back around. Remember, he is 13 yards and I cannot pivot. He hears those distant bulls, and I thought he might go to those cows, but he's just content to stare at me. He's going to make a move to his left, and when he does, I'm going to try to draw and pivot. He wasn't having none of that. Heartbreaking. So that was pretty heartbreaking. I don't know why he didn't just keep going across my front. That is the way the cookie crumbles when you're bow hunting, I guess. I think my lesson learned was to not have anything in front of me that prevents me from pivoting, because that tree was like right here, and I just couldn't even pivot over to do one of those numbers. I was just stuck right here. I'm hooked up to the string and just stuck because that tree's right here. Stabilizer and the arrow, I could not move it. So that hurt. But we saw elk. It was a good hunt. I'm disappointed to see the season is over. I would have liked another couple cracks at them, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. Hope you liked this video. If you did, give us that thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button down there, and as always, thanks for watching.